Come on in here, y'all. Come on in here. Let's see who's up at midnight Pacific Standard Time. You East Coast YouTube motherfuckers got an advantage, man. Y'all could be up at midnight on your time, and it'd be 9 o'clock over here. Shit. What's up, Positive Influence? What's up, Mirror 2500? Y'all working that swing shift tonight? His name is What's Up? You in NYC? What's up, James? Oh shit, y'all out there on the East Coast. Oh, you say you driving trucks? Like I always, I never. Let me say something. I say this every now and again. Excuse me. This goddamn blunt. I say this every now and again, but there's no way I can say it enough. There's no way anybody can say it enough. Thank God for the truck drivers. The truck drivers are the lifeblood of the United States economy. There is no music without the truck drivers. There's no food without the truck drivers. There's no gas without the truck drivers. There are no conveniences that we enjoy as Americans without truck drivers. So we must always remember to spend time to thank the everyday people that make our lives convenient and easy as possible. And that goes to the truck drivers. Our truck drivers are as important as our doctors. They're as important as our lawyers. They're as important as our actors. They're way more important than our athletes. Shit, y'all remember when that coronavirus hit? It wasn't no motherfucking sports being played, but them truck drivers are still hauling ass. Nigga. Let the truck drivers take 2 days off work. This whole country gonna be fucked up. So, all I'm saying is remember I was saying, well, this is what I was saying at the pull-up rally. What side of a circle is more important than the other? What part of a tire is more important than the other? The part of the tire that tucks into the rim is as important as the tread. The tread is as important as the wiring beneath the tread. The sidewalls is as important as the grooves between the tread. In this society, we tend to make one thing greater than the other, when really it takes everything for all to work. Which is what we're talking about tonight with music. What's up, Big Lee? Positive Influence, Brandon Terry, Amir. It takes everything for it all to work. That's what we know about in music. Tonight, we saw the great Herbie Hancock on stage with the great Terrence Blanchard. Justin Tyson on drums, Elana Penderhughes on flute. When it comes to music, everybody has to play their part for the song to work. The bass player can't be playing the clarinet's part. Ooh, that was a good hit. Shit. The drummer can't play the bass player's part. The keyboard player can't play the Congo player's part. Everybody got to play their part. In music, we can learn lessons in life through music. Music is the ultimate teacher. Cooperative effort that requires maximum skill from the individual and the knowing of when to assert that skill and step out and be out front and be the one shining and went to lay back in the pocket and be a part of the groove. And before I even get started, let me tell y'all something. I had the dopest experience tonight at the Hollywood Bowl. Me and the wife sitting there at the end of the show, because we always sit there for the parking lot to clear out before we leave. And Tashina Arnold rolled up. I was like, oh my God. Y'all don't know how much of a fan I've been of Tashina Arnold for 30 plus years. Before Martin. I think was it Little House of Horrors or something like that when she was like young. I've been a fan of that woman since the 80s when I couldn't go outside. And I met Tashina Arnold tonight. That was so beautiful. And for her to know my work, nigga, y'all know how that feel? Look, this past month has been great for me. I had Dr. Clyde Winters recognize my music tree. And you know, he's a scholar. He's the scholar of scholars. And I had our brother Tariq Nasheed wear my t-shirt on his show, on his broadcast. And Tashina Arnold recognized me. I was like, God damn. You never know who the fuck is watching you, man. You never know who watching. What's up, Mark Smith or Orlando Small? What's up to y'all? Darrell James. Man, I want to call my sister tonight, and my sister and my brother, but both of them asleep. My sister, and my brother got straight ahead jobs. My sister a teacher, my brother a cop. So I can't call them right now. Matter of fact, I feel like I could wake, my brother's a dickhead. I should wake him up. He ain't doing shit. He a cop, so that means he ain't got shit to do. I should call and wake his ass up. Because every Thursday, nigga, we was watching Martin, boy. My brother thought he was Martin when we was kids. We used to act out scenes from Martin. I swear to God. The house was a lot like the show Martin. My brother and my sister, it was nothing but jokes. All we did was crack on each other all goddamn day. Man, that felt so goddamn good, because you never know. And everybody hate Chris. But more so than me being a big fan of Martin, me being a big fan of Everybody Hates Chris, and more so than that, it's the fact that Tashina Arnold is the actress that has never cooned us out as people. She's always played roles with dignity. You know, it's people like Tashina Arnold. It's people like, it's just, you know, Marla Gibbs. Like, she's in that Marla Gibbs line to where she was great. Tashina Arnold, and she's in that family with Marla Gibbs. Marla Gibbs was one of the greatest of all time. See, we as black people, we really have so many greats that we don't recognize and we don't spend enough time praising. Tashina Arnold is like my Marla Gibbs. And there's no doubt in my mind that she could have been a flat out lead in the show like a 227 had she been given the shot to be the lead in a script that well. You know, it's like basketball, it's like music. Let me give y'all a quick example. Basketball and music, when I used to play drums at church and play in bands, the same principles I would use in music was the same principles I use when I coached basketball. It's the same thing, same shit. Same shit, different toilet. And that is understanding your role and how to be effective at your role, because everyone being effective at their role is what makes the whole thing great. Maurice White used to always say, Maurice White was a leader. For those of you who don't know, Maurice White was the leader for Earth and Fire. And Maurice White would oftentimes say, hey, when it comes down to our band, it's not that we have the greatest players, it's just that everybody knows their role and everybody plays their part to the best extent. And here's why that was so important, because Earth and Fire was the gold standard of the 70s. And the other gold standard was Parliament Funkadelic. And I'm not putting one band over the other because I like them both equally great. But Parliament had literally an all-star cast of musicians. Bernie Worrell, Kid Funk on guitar, Eddie Hazel on guitar, Junie Morrison. Junie Morrison left the Ohio Players to join Parliament Funkadelic. Felipe Wynn left lead singing for the Spinners to join Parliament Funkadelic. Hold on, get a loud ass fucking truck to go away. Fix your brakes, nigga. You about to crash on somebody. God damn. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Parliament Funkadelic. Parliament Funkadelic, had the Parliaments. It was a great. Individually, these people were powerhouses. Earth and Fire, they were powerhouses within their own right, but no one would ever mistake, them one-on-one. Bootsy Collins was a Parliament Funkadelic. Fred Wesley, Maceo Parker. These were people who were polished and proven. Earth and Fire didn't have those. Those guys were young. Al McKay on guitar was young. He played guitar for the Watts 103rd Street Band before he joined Earth and Fire. But before, other than Al McKay, Larry Dunn, the keyboard player. Larry Dunn was like in college. Him and Philip Bailey were in college when they got with Earth and Fire. These weren't when Bootsy Collins and Fred Wesley and Maceo Parker and I'm drawing a blank to the drummer's name. When they got to Parliament Funkadelic, that was their second go round. They had already had some level of refinement. Why am I saying that? Whether you're dealing with Parliament Funkadelic or Earth and Fire, people, one class being a band that had, proven musicians, and another one being some new cats that hadn't been proven anywhere else, they both had to abide by the same principle. Same with the shows like Martin. Same with when you're talking about basketball, we're talking about the Lakers and the San Antonio Spurs of the 2000s. You have to know when to assert yourself and when to fall back in the pocket. You got to know when to blend in and when to be the leader. You have to know that. And music and sport teaches you that. Entertainment, acting teaches you that. And one is no greater than the other. Scottie Pippen is what made Michael Jordan great. Well, the level of greatness that he got was a direct effect because of what Scottie Pippen can do as a role player. When people talk sports, they like to denigrate and shit on Scottie Pippen, but Scottie Pippen did all of the intangible things that did not show up in the box sheet, but the things that are necessary to win games. Jordan wouldn't be in position to win games if not for the dirty work that Scottie Pippen would do. But people oftentimes see Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan as separate when they're really yin and yang, one and the same. You dig what I'm saying? And then you need your other role players. You need a Horace Grant off the starting that doesn't require any plays run for him, but he'll still drop 11 points a night for you just off rebounds and dump-off passes. You still need a John Paxson or a Steve Kerr that's going to spread the floor, because without those floor spreaders, there's not going to be any space for Michael Jordan to operate in the paint and become the efficient scorer that he is. Same thing with music. In music, in order for Miles to be Miles, he needed Herbie Hancock on that piano to play his part. Tony Williams on drums to play his part. John Coltrane on sax to play his part. And through them being the best that they can be, it allowed Miles Davis to be Miles Davis. Through Tichina Arnold being who she was, it allowed Martin to be Martin. We all love Martin. But without having Tichina Arnold to bounce off of, Martin is a different character. I'm not saying he's great, but it would be different. The Martin show that we love, no different than Sanford and Son with Ethel and Red Fox. Ethel, she made Red Fox be the great that he was. The ability to bounce off the yin and yang principle, the point guard, shooting guard philosophy, the drummer bass, the lead guitar and the bass guitar, the singers to the keyboards. It's all a chemistry, and life is a chemistry. There's a chemistry and a rhythm to life like that. The misperception that we tend to have as humans is one is greater than the other. Yes, one is definitely gonna be more flashy. One is definitely gonna get the more attention because of their dynamic, because stars are born, not made. You gotta be born a star. There's certain people who just have the energy of a star. If I'm reading your cards and you're a 10 of hearts, oh yeah, you're a star. But 10 of hearts only cover, I think, 4 birthdays out of the year. 10 of hearts are rare. Not everybody's a star. 3 of diamonds can be a star sometimes. But if your card is a, say, 3, 4 diamonds, you can be a star, but you're not gonna be a star on the level of a 10 of hearts. You're not gonna. Virgos are stars generally. Look at Virgos. It's like Beyonce's a Virgo, Michael Jackson's a Virgo, Kobe's a Virgo. It's like certain energies just have that thing. But that thing can't be that thing without the support around it. When you look at Michael Jackson's Thriller album, Thriller 40 is coming up. Thriller, I'm going to do an Incense and Ashtrays pretty soon, just on the musicians that were on the Thriller album. You had George Duke, one of the greatest piano, jazz, funk pianists of all time. You had Joe Sample on keyboards. You had Greg Mouse Filling Gaines, the most recorded artist of all time. You had Louis Thunder Thumbs Johnson out of LA, nigga, from the Brothers Johnson on bass, nigga. You had Tom Watson doing the horn arrangements. The same Tom that used to do horn arrangements for Earth and Fire. So Quincy Jones got to be like, okay, Tom, you go and handle those horns. And you just bring those back to me. You had Wah Wah Watson on guitar. Do you niggas know who the fuck Wah Wah Watson is, nigga? On guitar, nigga? Come on. Michael Jackson had so many, the soup that went into the music that was Thriller and Off the Wall. Patrice Rushen, nigga? We ain't even got to Quincy Jones yet. And Bruce Sweden as a sound engineer. Bruce Sweden is the greatest sound engineer in recorded music history. That white dude with that weird ass, gingerbread ass mustache. Nigga look like he drink beer and eat cookies while he had the soundboard. Like, how you drinking? How the fuck do beer go with cookies, nigga? But what's gonna come out of that is some great ass music. It's that synergy, y'all. And we spend so much time looking at the individual and not seeing the synergy. It was a synergy between Martin Luther King and the organizations that supported him that pushed him to the heights of the 1963 rally. Now we know it was a whole bunch of bullshit that came out of that, but that wasn't his intent. You dig what I'm saying? You had people like Kennedy behind the scenes doing some bullshit. So, but it was a synergy of all of the secretaries, all of the people who would pass out flyers, the deacons of defense, the men who would carry guns and defend. Go read the book We Will Shoot Back if you want further information on that. I'm not telling you to be violent, that ain't my style, but be who you be. It's that synergy, and music teaches us that lesson. So as I'm talking tonight, this is what I want to talk about when it comes to music. Tonight, Herbie Hancock did, and he's been doing this for years, the tradition of the black jazz musician, the black blues musician, funk musician. He carried the tradition. And what's that tradition? The tradition for us musically is the elders passing the music down to the younger generation. If you know, and it's a two-pronged thing. It's a give and a take. It's a synergy. Older musicians have always liked younger musicians. Why? For two reasons. Number one, the younger musicians have the pulse and the vibration of the day. The older musician has the refinement on how to make a song, the show performance, and refining the intricacies of being an artist that you can only know through experience. So it's a synergy. The younger artist gets to see what the OGs do, how they walk, how they behave, how they prepare for a show, how they compose music. And the older artist gets the energy of the young artist and gets the vibration of the time and the feel of the current times. Because in music, you're on the pulse of the current times between your teens and your 20s. And when it gets to jazz, through your like mid 40s. But so Herbie Hancock brought in tonight, it was interesting, he had Terrence Blanchard on trumpet. And for those of you who don't know who Terrence Blanchard is, Terrence Blanchard composed every piece of music for every Spike Lee film. Mo Better Blues, Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X. You name the Spike Lee film, Terrence Blanchard was the music director of that film. He's a guy walking amongst us, and most black people don't know who he is, and that's a shame. I remember one night at the Hollywood Bowl about 10 years ago, they had a Spike Lee night. They had a night dedicated to Spike Lee and to Spike Lee's movies. And Terrence Blanchard was the music director that night. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful night. But Terrence Blanchard also recently, he scored the music for Woman King. The movie was trash, but I'm sure Terrence Blanchard's music scores were awesome. Herbie Hancock had the god Terrence Blanchard on trumpet. But the beautiful thing that he did that followed in the tradition of our music. Man, that motherfucker making all that noise going 6.5 miles an hour. Nigga sound like he going 65, but going 6.5. All that goddamn noise, he moved 20 feet. The fuck? See, I feel Manhattan Beach. I live not too far from Manhattan Beach, man. Manhattan Beach got a little thing where if you got a loud muffler, it's an automatic ticket. Any altered muffler. It says that way. As soon as you cross the Poveda and get into Manhattan Beach, it says if we hear any altered mufflers, it's an automatic ticket. When I first saw that, I was like, man, these honkies is ridiculous. But when I hear shit like that, I'm like, man, them honkies probably got a motherfucking point. Back to what I'm talking about. Shit. Distracted my goddamn train of thought. Anyway. What was I talking about, chat room? Shit. Hey, B. Pauly. Take them B. Pauly got those glasses at one of those machines at the grocery store with the claw. That nigga got a teddy bear and some glasses. This nigga B. Paulie got glasses came with a Nerf ball set. What was I talking about, chat room? What was I talking about? I lost my train of thought with that loud. That muffler sounded like it had asthma. What the fuck, nigga? Hey, B. Paulie, be good for something. Oh, yeah, I was talking about Terrence Blanchard. Oh, yeah. Terrence Blanchard is somebody y'all should look out for. I first became aware of his music when I went to Essence Fest in 2004. I was 23, and he was playing in the Super Lounge. And that's when I first became aware of his music. And I've been a fan of his ever since I was 23. But he was playing trumpet, and then here's the beautiful thing. Going back to what I was talking about, the tradition of us passing down our music. Herbie Hancock had Justin Tyson and Elana Penderhughes in his band. Why is that significant? Well, let me tell you who Elana Penderhughes is. Elana Penderhughes is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful flutist. If y'all follow my Twitter or my Instagram, you see me periodically. I post me listening to something because she has a lot of music with what's his name, Christian Scott. He changed his name to some African shit, Christian Atunde. Excuse me, Christian Scott. If you ever hear this, I do not mean to disrespect your name. I just forgot it. But Christian Scott is the young, preeminent trumpet player of our time. He's the hottest trumpet player, in my opinion, of our time right now. He has his pulse on the music. But he has a lot of music with Elana Penderhughes. And she's a flutist. And she sounds like, Elana Penderhughes sounds like Goddess herself. Let me tell you something. Elana Penderhughes carries on in the tradition of Bobby Humphrey. Bobby Humphrey, I love Bobby. I would love to see Bobby Humphrey live. Bobby Humphrey's only 72. She's still out there, man. I would love to, Hollywood Bowl, nigga, have a Bobby Humphrey night. Harlem River Drive. I love me some Bobby Humphrey, but Elana Penderhughes is in the vein of Bobby Humphrey and great female flutists, Hubert Laws, And so for her to get to be on tour and to be in the energy of Herbie Hancock's 82 years old now, 82 or 83. 82, because I remember, because I was looking on my, Facebook, having Facebook memories. Me and my wife was at the Hollywood Bowl back then. We weren't married back then, but in 2010, we was at the Hollywood Bowl for Herbie Hancock's 70th birthday party at the Hollywood Bowl. We were there. Back then, we were sitting in the seats way at the top of the stadium. Now we was on a 6th row tonight. Goddamn it, that shit was beautiful. But to have Herbie Hancock and Terrence Blanchard, 2 generations of greats. Herbie Hancock learned from Miles Davis. Miles Davis had Herbie Hancock as his pianist when Herbie Hancock was in his early 20s. Do you guys know Herbie Hancock has been at the forefront of the advancement of instrumentation since 1970, 1969? The first time a Rhodes was used, a keyboard sound was used in jazz, was used by Herbie Hancock on Miles Davis's album, The Bitches Brew. Herbie Hancock had said he had never used anything other than piano, but they handed him this Rhodes, this keyboard that had all these alternative sounds, and it was Herbie Hancock that legitimized the keyboard, the Rhodes, because in America, Instruments and sounds aren't legitimized until they're used in jazz. It's been flipped a little bit lately with the hip hop thing, but even hip hop was legitimized by Herbie Hancock. Rocket. Herbie Hancock was the first quote unquote legitimate artist to play a song in the rap hip hop genre with Rocket. Before Herbie Hancock did that, the musicians and the DJs that did hip hop were not taken serious. Let me make it very clear for you young people out there, or hip hop, the sound of hip hop, the music, because it was so sample reliant, people didn't respect samples at that time in the early 80s. It was like, no, create your own fucking music. Why are you taking my shit? That's how sampling was looked at. Sampling was looked down on. And when you had your live bands like Houdini or whatever that did, it was seen as second-rate music. It was Herbie Hancock when he came out with Rocket, and he had the person scratching on an album. That was the first time someone scratched on an album for a quote-unquote jazz musician. Herbie Hancock took a lot of bullets for that. They were asking him, why would you play that lower class music? It was Herbie Hancock that said, this is music. And so once Herbie Hancock put his stamp of approval on rap/hip hop, who could deny it? If Herbie Hancock, mind you, this is the Herbie Hancock that, go back and listen to Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage. If you want to hear some music, black people, white people, where the fuck listen to me? I don't give a damn what race you are listening to me. If you want to hear a beautiful piece of music, if you want to let your mind be taken away, I encourage you, turn your music on when you're done listening to me run my motherfucking mouth, and listen to Maiden Voyage by Herbie Hancock. That song, to me, that song takes me to a level of inner peace that I love that song. Matter of fact, when I'm done talking to y'all, I'm going to listen to Maiden Voyage by Herbie Hancock. And another song that takes you there by Herbie Hancock. Another song if you really want to just zen out, puff on a joint, drink some wine, put your phone on airplane mode, get the fuck off Twitter, listen to a song called Bubbles by Herbie Hancock. Doo-doo-doo, doom-doom, doo-doo-doo. I love, man, shit. And if you a nigga like me that take them shrooms every now and again, Bubbles is a great song to listen to when that shroom hit. Like when you feel yourself, you ate them shrooms about 35, 45 minutes ago and they ain't hit yet, but you got your music playing, you like that blunt, and then you look up, like all of the lights are like hella bright, and they're like starting to like dazzle, and like, oh shit, the shrooms is hitting. At that point, man, play Bubbles by Herbie Hancock and just breathe deep. Take deep breaths and take it all in and be ultra present. Sit your motherfucking phone down. Don't answer no text message. Don't tweet nobody. Nigga, don't worry about your loud, musty ass neighbor. If you got a dog, feed that little motherfucker before you get started. Hell yeah, nigga. Hell yeah. But Herbie is a guy that I had to go. And then and I forgot, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Justin Tyson on drums. Justin Tyson is such a dope drummer. He played with this group called Freelance out of New York. And their music, go look them up. I got in contact with one of the brothers from that band through Twitter. It's a band called Freelance. They're in New York, out of New York. They got an album that dropped like 2018, 17. It's a dope ass album. Black Americans is some dope ass R&B jazz type shit. Dope, dope, dope band. Justin Tyson was with them. He also plays with Robert Glasper. And so for Justin Tyson to be and playing the drums for Herbie Hancock, that's Herbie Hancock, that's Justin Tyson being passed down information, because Herbie Hancock played with Tony Williams. Herbie Hancock played with Art Blakey and Max Roach. So he's able to pass down the information, if not verbally, psychically. Because one thing about music is a psychic language. That's why I love music so much. So sometimes I miss playing in a band. You'll be sitting there playing, and I'll just lock eyes with the bass player, and we'll just lock in and lick at the same point. My kick drum and they accent just in sync. You might be playing doom 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 doom. Then you lock eyes with the bass player, and it'll go from doom 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 doom. It'll just be shit like that. You and the bass player never rehearsed that. You never talked about it before it happened. But it was just a certain feeling when the music was going on. You connect eyes. Sometimes you don't even connect eyes. As a drummer, my foot just does it. And the bass player acts it on that same rhythm. Music is a psychic communication. And that's why live instrumentation is so important. So to see Herbie Hancock have them, and before he had Elena Penderhughes and Justin Tyson with him, he had Kamasi Washington with him before. He's had Terrace Martin with him. You know, Herbie Hancock and that's been the tradition. You know, Miles Davis is the one that brought in Herbie Hancock. You know, they all started somewhere. Count Basie, all Lester Young got to start with Count Basie. Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald. Ella Fitzgerald and what's his name? The little short motherfucker who died young. He died in 1939. He was the band director at the Savoy in New York through the 30s. Chick Webb, that's his name, Chick Webb. You know, Chick Webb that brought Ella Fitzgerald along. And then when she outgrew his band, she rode with the Count Basie band. Then when she outgrew Basie, she became the great queen, wonderful, majestic Ella Fitzgerald. Black people, do we know who the fuck Ella Fitzgerald is, nigga? Talk about a queen. That woman sold out the Hollywood Bowl 17,000 seats. She sold the Hollywood Bowl out in 7 consecutive decades. And y'all want to have top 5 arguments. Nigga, this is bigger than your top 5. Your top 5 ain't shit. It's bigger than your top 5. So Herbie Hancock doing this, you know, it was Buddy Bolden that allowed a young Jelly Roll Morton to play. It was, you know, it's always It was Miles Davis that brought John Coltrane on. Miles Davis gave Coltrane his biggest break. It was Ramsey Lewis, rest in peace, that gave Maurice White his biggest break. It was James Brown that gave Bootsy Collins. That's always been the formula in black music. Get the young artists, match with the old wisdom. George Clinton with Funkadelic. The Parliament singers got together in the 50s. Niggas don't know. Parliament was with Motown trying to sing doo-wop, trying to sound like the Temptations in the 60s. But they weren't good enough, so they were relegated to basically recording demos and writing. They had to come back and retool. And when they retooled, they had the kids from the barbershop, Eddie Hazel and Bernie Worrell. These were Plainfield, New Jersey. George Clinton had a barbershop in Plainfield, New Jersey. And Eddie Hazel and these guys were the kids. So when they came back from Detroit, when Parliament came back from Detroit and their name was caught up in a legal battle, they said, okay, let's create a new band called Funkadelic and feature these kids. At the time, Eddie Hazel's a teenager. You dig? George Clinton's in his 30s. Eddie Hazel and those guys are teenagers. Bootsy Collins was teenagers in the early 20s when they were with James Brown. James Brown was old to them. But that young energy is what kept James Brown with the pulse of the time. He knew the pulse was in Ohio. So he kept them Ohio musicians with him. And George Clinton did the same. And then he got young Bootsy, and George Clinton was older than those guys. But it was his old wisdom, knowing how to refine a song and make it a hit. It was Charles Stepney that got Earth, Wind & Fire in shape. Because Charles Stepney was in his 40s when Maurice White was in his 30s, and Verdine White, the bass player, the one with all the funny hair, and Philip Bailey, the lead singer, and Larry Dunn, the keyboard player, and Al McKay, the guitarist, they were all in their very early 20s, and Fred White, the drummer. They were like late teens, early 20s, and Maurice White was in his 30s, and Charles Stepney was in his 40s. The tradition and how our music has always stayed strong was always having elderly leadership pass down information to the youth musicians. That's how the line of communication in our music has stayed strong, going back to the 1800s. It doesn't just happen. It just doesn't just go by happenstance. When you listen to my interview with Mr. Bobby Rush, he talks about Muddy Waters having him around, and how Muddy Waters was an old guy, but Muddy Waters passed Mr. Bobby Rush down the information, and Bobby Rush is 89 years old, still playing the music that Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters passed down to him. So I want to really salute Herbie Hancock, because a lot of musicians, what they do, especially when they get old and they want that money, you see these old black musicians, and oftentimes they'll surround themselves with like young white musicians. And it's like they'll be passing the information down. And I'm not tripping. It's okay. I'm not saying they shouldn't have it, whatever. But it's like I'd rather see our old black artists pass down the information to our young black artists. And that's something that I've seen Herbie Hancock consistently do. He's consistently had the next big young black artist, the next young black artists that are on their way and creating a new wrinkle in this thing we call jazz. He's done a great job of having them accompany him in his band, and that means so much. And so, and so when we see it, like I keep my father-in-law. He had his. I'd be laughing at my wife though, because she'd be mad if she knew I was telling y'all this story. My wife was funny as hell. She'd be thinking her life was fucking normal. I'd be like, your life was not normal. You knew, like, Yeah, like you knew like legendary people. Like you had an open invitation to Never Never Land with Michael Jackson. Your life was not normal, woman. But she be thinking, my wife be thinking her life was normal. So like, she's like, I used to talk to her. She used to be like, when Babyface was like in the mid '80s. This is back when he was with the deal. This is before Babyface became Babyface. Babyface used to come over the house a lot, and she used to look at him thinking like, man, he ain't gonna be no star. He too shy. And this is when she was like 5. But she was like, she used to see Michael Jackson, so she kind of knew a little bit what she was talking about. But she remember thinking like how shy, she's always talking about like how shy Babyface was when he would come by. Because Mr. Carmichael would mentor Babyface. He would really show Babyface how to refine a song, how to put the song together. There's always been a network of the OGs in our music passing the information down to the younger artists. And it'd be funny because like she be having like all kind of stories of people who are like extra famous now. When they were young, they was like Mr. Carmichael's like they were running, they was carrying the crates for him basically. But that's part of the learning process in music. And it's a consistent network that our black artists have done a great job of keeping together. So it was just so dope seeing Herbie Hancock get another class of new black artists to pass the information down to. Yeah, so Brad, you just finished listening to Bubbles? That shit was fire, yeah. Yeah. So, what's up, Paul? What's up, Joe? So it was just dope seeing the OG artists, pass down information to the young artists. Because that's us not waiting for them to teach us. That's us doing what we do. And I gotta give credit to Snoop Dogg too. If I ever interview Snoop Dogg, I want to give him his flowers because Snoop Dogg made a move that a lot of people miss that really helped keep jazz alive. Snoop, in the black American musician tradition of passing the information down to the younger artists, when he went on tour in the early 2000s, who did he bring on tour with him? Kamasi Washington, Terrace Martin. He's used J-Mo for events. Y'all know J-Mo, I've interviewed him on this channel. He's used Anderson .Paak. Snoop has really put on a lot of young Thundercat, Flying Lotus. The cats who are really at the top of the food chain in jazz now, a lot of them got their big break touring with Snoop. Like I saw an interview with Tavis Smiley about 10 years ago now with Kamasi Washington. And he talked about touring with Snoop and how getting that consistent work in the studio with Snoop and touring with Snoop gave basically their crew the capital to record the album that they did. For those of you who don't know, and I did a show about a year ago on this channel about Kamasi Washington. Back like in 2011, 2012, like Kamasi Washington, Thundercat, Flying Lotus, Ryan Porter, Tony Austin on drums, Cameron Graves on keyboard, Terrace Martin. They all got together and they rented out 30 days of studio time to record, and they all played on each other's album. This is how we work as Black Americans, people. These are the stories these sorry-ass publications won't tell you because all they want is some fucking gossip. I ain't got time for no goddamn gossip. If y'all gonna give me y'all time with y'all ear, I'm gonna give you something you can learn and do something with. Fuck all that gossip shit. Cold part about it is I'm born and raised in LA. If it came to that gossip thing, I'm sure I got better stories than most of them gossip niggas you see on YouTube, because I be in these streets out here. I see a lot that's going on, but I'm a real nigga and I ain't my fucking business. I'm gonna tell y'all niggas what the real is. So when it come down to it, Snoop, when they got together and did that 30 days and played on each other's albums, that changed music. If you go back and listen to Kamasi Washington's album, go back and listen to an album of his called The Epic. It's a 3-disc volume set, 3 albums. It came out in 2014. Kamasi not only had a rhythm section with 2 drummers, he had his father, Ricky Washington. And Ricky Washington is somebody I used to play the drums with. Ricky Washington used to play at my church when I was on the drums because his brother was a man named Don Washington. Their family, if you're from LA and you ever driven down Crenshaw, you've heard of the Lula Washington Dance Theater. Lula Washington is an icon in South Central LA in the Crenshaw district. Lula Washington is a mother of the Crenshaw area. She's a mother. She's an icon. She's a cornerstone of the Crenshaw district. And her dance theater has gotten a lot of young boys and girls into the entertainment and arts. She's a mother to the Crenshaw district and to Black LA. Well, the brothers Don Washington and Ricky Washington. And Don Washington used to play the organ at my church. And he would get his brother Ricky Washington to play every now and again. And even less rare, he would get his son Kamasi Washington to come and play. So I met Kamasi when I was like 18 or 19. He played at my church a couple Sundays, and I just remember him having a dope sound. And he had just, no, he wasn't 18. Kamasi was there. No, I think we were still in high school. I think we were both in like seniors in high school. I was at Westchester High School, and Kamasi was at Hamilton High School. And that's when I first met Kamasi. And then I saw Kamasi at the Hollywood Bowl in 2001. He was playing saxophone for the Crusaders, the Jazz Crusaders, going back to passing down information. Look up the Crusaders. Joe Sample was the keyboardist. Joe Sample was also one of the main guys that played keyboard for Michael Jackson. I talked about him earlier when I talked about Thriller and Off the Wall. And the Bad album, Joe Sample played the keyboard on a lot of those albums. He played the keyboard on a lot of Quincy Jones music. If it was a Quincy Jones production, it was a good chance Joe Sample was one of the keyboarders. If anything Quincy Jones is going to have Greg Phillinganes, Joe Sample, Patrice Rushen, or George Duke on keyboards. Well, Kamasi Washington got that energy of the Jazz Crusaders and Joe Sample playing with them. But it was Snoop that really gave them the capital, according to that interview they had with Tavis Smiley about, to get together and record. And so when you listen to Kamasi's album, The Epic, it has a full choir, a full orchestra. It has a rhythm section with his father. It has background singers to go on top of the choir. 2 drummers, and motherfucking DJ Battle Cat. Yeah, nigga. The legendary DJ Battle Cat. 1, 2, 3, yeah, this is OG. You come and reminisce with me. Yeah, that was DJ Battle Cat's first hit. Ghetto Jam by Domino. Kamasi brought together a choir, orchestra, and a DJ. But all of that was made possible by Snoop Dogg giving those young black musicians out of Locke High School, Jordan High School, and Hamilton High School, and Crenshaw High School a chance. The tradition of black elders passing down the information, the synergy of young and old, the synergy of, the boss and the employee. It's not about who's better or who's not. Going back to how we started, it's about the circle. It's about the tire. What side of the tire is greater than the other? If any part of the tire is compromised, it doesn't matter if 99% of that tire is in great shape. If 1% of that tire has a hole in it, the tire is no good. If one part of a circle has a flat side to it, it's no longer a circle, and it can't function as a circle. The key is not to rate who's better or who's not. The key is the question, where do I fit in? Do I lead or do I fall back in the pocket? Do I help out? Because some days, the best you can do is to be the person that helps clean up the trash. And if you don't know any better, you'll think being the person that cleans the trash up is a less position. Nothing can function in a dirty environment. Whether you go to a basketball game, a concert, church, or visiting your friend's house, a restaurant, nothing functions in a dirty environment. So the person that cleans up the trash is every bit as vital as the server, who's every bit as vital as a person that's the bartender, the manager, and the owner. It's a synergy. And we learned that through music. Sometimes you're part in a song. Go back and listen to that song. It's a lot of songs. Go back and listen to like a song like Rockin' Robin by the Jackson 5. There's a part to where the flute only plays twiddly-diddly-dee. Just the only part the flute plays is that's it. The drummer is getting it, playing that shuffle, that triplet shuffle. The bass player, Michael Jackson singing his heart out. Everybody playing their part. But that one little part, that thing is what makes the song. Go back and listen to the Midnight Star. Midnight Star has a song called You Got the Midas Touch. There's a part in that song to where they go, you got the Midas touch, bing, and somebody just hits a fucking bell. So simple. But without that bell, if you hear that song right now and somebody took that bell part out of that song, you're gonna be like, something's missing. What's wrong with that song? Every other part of that song will be in the same shape and condition, But if that little ass bell is missing, you gonna look up and be like, what happened? The lesson is play your motherfucking part. Why am I saying this? I saw people online all week on Twitter mad because they're not getting credit. I talked the other day about the pull-ups that's been happening nationwide. I talked about the positive, but now I gotta address the negative. And I'm not here to talk bad about anybody or talk shit about anybody. I'm just saying this shit in general. When it comes to the empowerment of your people and the love for your people and giving of yourself for the betterment of your people, don't expect a thank you. Nobody tells the sidewall of a tire thank you. But everybody know if any part of that tire is fucked up, you can't go anywhere. Being a public servant, being someone who's you the one, your feet are the rubber of the road, you can't expect everyone else to acknowledge you and say you're great and stop and have a party for you because you did a good thing. That's not what we're in this for. That's not what you should be anything for. If you do something, do it from your heart and play your part and be part of the synergy that's going to make the outcome greater than the sum of its parts. Don't be out there. Don't do shit for clout. Do it because your heart means it. And if your heart don't mean it, it don't mean nothing wrong with you, nigga. Your heart means it in some area of life. Just apply your heart to the area that means something to you. It's like music, it's like basketball, it's like life, it's like sports. Play your part. And play your part the best you can play. One of my favorite songs to use as an example is I Don't Believe You Want to Dance by the Gap Band. Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops up. And you know that song? Then here come the bass. Doom, doom, doom. 3 fucking notes. For 5 minutes, the bass plays 3 notes. Doom, doom, doom. And then here comes the keyboard. Plays the up notes. Since the bass is playing the down notes, the kick on the playboard. Simple. The drummer, 4 on the floor, up notes on the hi-hat, lay it down on the 2. Simple. Then the congos come in. Simple. Doot-doot-doot-doot. Doot-doot-doot-doot. Nobody's doing the most. But as that song grows, the feeling, everybody's playing their part with feeling. The song don't work if you don't play it without feeling. You gotta put that feeling in there, that emotion. And you feel it. And then the song gradually crescendos and it gets bigger. And then about 4.5 minutes into the song, here come the horns. Then the horns come in. And then the keys are playing underneath out of time. And then you get down about 6.5 minutes into the song, you get into the break. And the song just is beautiful. But when you go back and break down the song, wasn't nobody doing the most. Everybody just played their part. And if the bass player goes from playing them 3 notes to dum, because bass player, he got some chops. He could have played some funky shit right there, but it wouldn't have made the song work. The drummer could have added some 16th notes in on the hi-hats, could have been playing ghost notes on the snare to fill it up, could have been double kicking it, but that tempo was perfect for a drummer to double kick and play ghost notes and do shit like that. But if the drummer does that extra shit, the song ain't gonna work. Everybody has to be patient with their part for that song, I Don't Believe You Wanna Dance by the Gap Band, to be the groove that it is. And what happens 40 years later after that song came out? When that song comes on, if you got some nigga blood in you, the minute you hear oops upside your head, say oops upside your head, and then you hear Charlie Wilson come in, oh, the bigger the doctor, the bigger the pill, which was something that Charlie Wilson, in the early days of the Gap Band, they had a lot of Parliament Funkadelic influence. That was that George Clinton influence on the Gap Band. Greenwood, Archer, and Pine, Tulsa, Oklahoma. But that song, 40 years later, when it comes on, if you anywhere in nigga America, you gonna get off your ass and be like, oh, shit. But you only get that because everybody played their part. Just because I believe you don't want to dance, don't mean that I don't want you, nigga. What's up, Knockout Noda? What's up, Refaces? This nigga. Yeah. Knockout Noda. This nigga flip his meat on a barbecue grill with his hands. That's my Knockout Noda in the chat room. This nigga be flipping burgers on the grill, fire coming up and everything with his fingers. Niggas be like, he be like, oh, it ain't nothing but a little bit of flames. What's up, Delano L? Rob Trimble? Paxton Howard? Oh, you're saying with Tighten Up by Jackson 5, Archibald Drills? Then do the Tighten Up. Doom, 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 doom. Well, that's really what funk is. Funk is everybody playing a part. Funk is everybody playing their part. And you gotta lay back in that pocket, you know what I mean? That's what jazz is. And this is our music. Our music is a sonic interpretation of how we live life, black people. Decode the messages. That's why they take jazz from you. Jazz is improvisation. Okay. Old niggas on Harleys. It's 1 in the goddamn morning, sir. Your grandkids miss you. Get your ass home. The old ass nigga look like he leaving Shirley's house. This nigga. I'll speak on Coolio. Rest in peace, Coolio. He used to be my wife's neighbor. He used to live in Ladera. I used to see him a lot. Like back when my wife, me and her as friends. We weren't always dating. We were just friends for a long time. And my wife was a chick that, like, when I would leave, whenever I finish fucking around another chick, I go and kick it with her. But because me and her were just close friends forever. We weren't even, me and my wife just started dating until like we got into our 20s. or really in our late 20s. But I said that to say I used to always be over her house going back to when we was in high school. And Coolio lived, I think he lived on Shenandoah in Ladera. And we used to always see him, and we knew it was him because his hair was always wired in a certain way. And every time I saw Coolio, he seemed like a nice person. I never, had a conversation with him. There have been times, and I used to always be in the clubs a lot in Hollywood, so I would see him a lot, just in a club. And, I mean, one time I saw him, I was at a party on Halloween, and he had his hair done up like in devil horns. He had like a devil mask on, and he had his hair done up like in devil horns. This is like '05. But I never sat and had a conversation with him, you know what I mean? But I will say, he didn't have a phony energy. The energy that I picked up on every time I would come around him was always the energy of somebody who was just cool with themselves. So, yeah, rest in peace to Coolio. And also, I'm glad you brought that up because rest in peace also to Pharoah Sanders. Rest in peace to Pharoah Sanders. 81 years old, passed away this past week. One of the greatest saxophonists of ever. His music was highly spiritual. When John Coltrane died, Pharoah Sanders really took over as being a spiritual leader on the saxophone. He has an album that he did in 1971 with Alice Coltrane, John Coltrane's wife. And it is such a beautiful album to meditate to. It just opens up everything in your mind. But look up a song by Pharoah Sanders called Astro Travel. That's my personal favorite Pharoah Sanders song. If you remember the movie Do the Right Thing, he was one of the artists that Samuel L. Jackson shouted out. Pharoah Sanders. Rest in peace. And of course, rest in peace to Ramsey Lewis. Ramsey Lewis helped really Maurice White get his start. And it was the money Maurice White made as a drummer for Ramsey Lewis that gave him the opportunity and the time to step out on his own and make Earth and Fire. Again, the elders teaching the young musicians. A tradition that Herbie Hancock kept up tonight. Oh, and it's also dope seeing the Free Nationals tonight, too. How can I get through this whole thing without bringing up the Free Nationals? I love them, man. Anderson .Paak's backing band. And, being in L.A., we get all the dope shit. So Anderson .Paak came out and played Gidget on the drums with the Free Nationals. It was so dope. It was so dope seeing Anderson .Paak come out and play the drums with the Free Nationals. Free Nationals is one of my favorite current bands. I love their work with Anderson .Paak. And the motherfucker Anderson .Paak came out in a Rick James wig and got on the drums. Sweet Gidget. It was 75 degrees in LA. We had our box seats on the 6th row. It's direct center on stage. Those are our seats tonight. 6th row, direct center, box 634. So we was right there. And then when the show was over, I got to meet Tashina Arnold. That was some dope ass shit. That was dope on top of dope. So yeah, man. So, but I'm about to get the fuck up out of here. I got some readings to do in the morning. Salute to everybody who's hit me up for a reading. I got my sale that ends tomorrow. Type in the product code September for 20% off a reading. I've had a lot of men come to me. I've had men as young as early 20s up into their 70s come to me for readings. It's so dope seeing so many men want to really get down to the nitty gritty of what's going on and get clarity. And I've had a lot of women too. And salute to everybody that's come for a reading, you know. I got another dope Google review today. I gotta post it to you. I'm gonna post it and show y'all. Somebody else left me a Google review. I've been having some great Google reviews from my cardology readings. I'm having a lot of dope responses. In my book, I've been having a lot of dope responses to my book. Patreon's coming soon. And yeah, and salute to Corey Holcomb 5150. That was fun. Caffeine app, download the Caffeine app for my Tuesday show. It's your Black American music tree and all that shit. A phone number, email, go to breakthroughas.org or email me info@Hotepish or either info@DwannBrown.com or info@Hotepish.com or info@breakthrough. Email me any one of my email addresses. I can type, because I can't type in here right now, the link. But if you can't remember, the link is breakthroughas.org. You click on book appointment and then book an appointment directly. Breakthroughas.org. 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 I'm high, man. I'm sorry, y'all. No, I don't remember. If I didn't respond to you, I didn't receive your email. Look, I'm telling you right now, if you email me something, I'm generally gonna respond within, like, if it's the daytime, within 6 hours. But definitely that day. I usually respond to emails the same day if I see it. I have a great email account that does a really good job of siphoning shit off the spam drive. So if I didn't respond to you the same day, it's either because I thought it was spam and threw that shit away, or I didn't see it. So email me back if I didn't respond. Yeah, so breakthrough AS. And it's funny too. I added the cardology because I was wondering if I was gonna add cardology to Breakthrough. I went through a whole rebranding of my Breakthrough website, a whole new relaunch. And 2 weeks after I went through the whole rebranding of my Breakthrough website, I decided to add my cardology readings to the site, to start booking cardology readings. So yes, there's an inconsistent message because I literally spent a fuck ton of money on a total rebrand of that site. And then 2 weeks later, took on a whole new direction with it. So those changes will be up on the site within the next 2 months. But you can't book a nigga now. Now I don't know the card October 27th off the top of my head. I do not know. Matter of fact, I have no clue. It's probably a heart. I know the last week of October, it's a lot of hearts. Is it a 7? It's one of the hearts. Either way it go, if you're a heart sweet, you're dealing with an emotional motherfucker. Somebody wants to know how many cheeseburgers did I eat today. Then they had a whole bunch of smiling, laughing emojis. Like, hey, I just hit that fat nigga with a very rare great joke. What's up, Morris Bill? Also, 8 of hearts. I figured it was hearts because this is heart season. If you're dealing with an 8 of hearts, if you're an 8 of hearts person, you're very charming to people. You better use your charm to your advantage. But you could also use your charm to manipulate motherfuckers. You gotta watch out for 8 of hearts people. They could be charming and legit, or charming and bullshit. Use your intuition to decide which one. Yeah. No, that's all good, Todd Campbell. If you want me to do a reading for the month, I can. Positive influence. If you want me to do a reading for the month, I can. What about 9 of clubs? 9 of clubs people, you better watch you better pay close attention to what they say. 9 of clubs people are very convincing, but if their heart ain't right, they can convince you to do some bullshit. Or they can motivate you to do some great shit. It depends on where their energy is if they're 9 of clubs. 9 of clubs people tend to outthink themselves too much, though. That be getting in their own way. 9 of clubs people are very complicated and mentally complicated, which oftentimes leads to confusion. So if you're dealing with a 9 of clubs person, you're dealing with somebody who is oftentimes conflicted about what the fuck they thinking in their own mind. But at the same time, they're very convincing when they speak. So when you listen to a 9 of clubs person speak, they're going to talk to you. And when you listen to them, they're going to sound like they know everything that they're talking about. They're going to be convincing. They're going to sound like they got all that shit in order. But in their own mind, they know they full of shit. They ain't got a goddamn thing in order. Yeah. I appreciate it, Admiral Woods. But I'm about to get up out of here. I'm about to go kick it with my wife. I'm done running my mouth to y'all. All right. There are no perfect messengers. Only perfect messages for those willing to pick up the game. Y'all have fun.